Welcome back, my beautiful humans, to another episode of If I Die Tomorrow. Today, we're talking about the people who make communication feel like a full-blown fire. They're aggressive, they're rough around the edges. They're the ones that seem to have a black belt in verbal communication and combat. If today were your last day on this big blue marble, you wouldn't want to spend your final hours in a power struggle. You'd want peace. But how do you find peace when someone is barking at you? Whew. See, it already gets my anxiety going. Just thinking about somebody. And it's hard because I keep wanting to say aggressive, but part of it could just be confident. Or you're just on the wrong end of somebody with a bad day. Over the last 2 weeks, we have learned about the 4 communicator styles and how to read the unspoken cues. Today, we're going to use those tools to turn friction into connection. I hope. Or at least, the very least, into a conversation that doesn't leave you feeling like you need a nap, a padded room, or some kind of alcohol. Not to say any of those things are bad, in moderation. So how can we have like a bulletproof shield? And I know that seems like a really bad way to start this off, but when someone comes at you with high heat, our first instinct is to think, what did I do? Or how dare they? Don't you come at me like that. I mean, depending on the person you are and the relationship you have with the person coming at you, those are usually your 2 thoughts. And the later, the how dare they, could really make you square up. And we need to have a perspective shift that makes you bulletproof. See, aggression is almost always a shield for someone who feels out of control. Think of it like a vibe check. When they bark, it's not because you're failing. It's because they're struggling with an internal storm. And I know in the heat of the moment, you don't always stop and think about that. You don't turn it. Because this world is so I-centered, it is almost foreign, but it is actually the best thing for us to do is to stop going, oh, it's about me. And maybe it really is about them. And they don't know how to express it because their day is really bad. And, they say that the people that we love the most are the ones that get the worst. And so sometimes we have to give some grace in what someone else might be going through, and realize that it's not about us. Maybe it really is. They're just having a bad day, or they're in a lot of pain, or they just had some really crappy news and they're struggling to figure it out or come to terms with it, and they don't know how to express it yet. And so it comes out harsh. So let's give it a little bit of, a minute. And now if you see this and you're trying to work through it, you can do something to immediately kind of take your focus out of it and imagine them as something funny that would not intimidate you in the slightest. At first, when I was doing this, I was talking about, oh, well, you could imagine them naked. That might not be the best thing Just might not be. They could be a duck on roller skates or a chihuahua in a business suit. You know, or a floating talking head. You see where I'm going with this. And that's what they could, take it from a humor side. And you also have to realize that their tone is their problem, not yours. Don't make it your problem. And it's also not your identity. It doesn't make them right when they do this. Please don't say that I'm, or think that I'm giving kind of permission for someone to speak horribly to you in a matter. But remember, we also all have different offensive points, and you're taking offense to a tone or words that are being said also depends on the day you're having as well. It's a two-way street, and we don't always use blinkers, and we don't always stay in our lane. So if you would like people to have grace for you, you need to have a little grace for them. Sometimes you are just a witness to their stress. Yeah. Not their problem, just their witness. In our body language episode, we talked about the lean. When someone is aggressive, they are leaning in with a squared up, shoulder to shoulder. There's. And if you meet them there with that same heat, you have just started a fire. And I know that's not what you were looking to do. You could try something like, hey, I've noticed you're a little bit agitated right now, or your energy's really high right now. Do you want to take a minute and then we can circle back to this? Or, I'm not feeling this right now, so we've got a little bit of time before this needs to be solved. So can we come back later? You're giving them an option. You're not accusing them of being anything but someone trying to have a conversation with you, but you're taking it in a tone and in a manner in which you're not comfortable with either. So try to keep your responses as calm and as neutral as possible, because we all know nobody calms down when somebody says calm down. Now, from inside your own body and your own space, some of these conversations, the way they are hot and heavy and fast and furious, they can bring up some anxiety. I know it does for me. And some of it is also because of the type of communicator that you might be. So when your heart starts racing, you're feeling that flight or fight response. First of all, back out of the square. Do the 45. Leave that opening, because that takes away some of the pressure right away. And it also can physically tell your nervous system, we're not in a standoff. It's okay. We are just standing near a loud person. And I know that seems odd, but I will tell you it does help. And then, don't shut down. You still need to hear what they're saying. Just understand that you're hearing it and you're not responding. The most rough communicators fall into the intuitive or analytics, or your drivers, your analytics. Because we discussed this in our very first episode. They don't want a personal connection right now. They just want a result. So one of the things, as we've discussed before, is stop the fluff. Don't go into a 10-minute long backstory. Don't go into, because one, they're going to see it as excuse. And then that is going to start a whole nother ball rolling that nobody wants. We need to deal with what we got to deal with right now. We don't need to add in. Nope. Because while you're doing the 10-minute backlog, they're saying it as excuses, buying time, and actually wasting their time, which is going to make them more aggressive. Give them the bottom line. Just rip the Band-Aid off. I mean, that's the best way I can do it. Okay, if your partner is a, analytic or a driver, and you have a problem with the car, don't go into, oh, well, for the last few weeks, it's been doing blah, 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 blah. No, just tell them, I think the car needs to go in. It's doing this. That way you're giving them the bottom line and you're giving them a solution. All in one. Rip the Band-Aid off. I know it can be scary. Work yourself up. Get it? But you know the people in your life better than anybody else. There are ways that you're able to communicate with them where it's a little bit easier. And we have talked about basics. I know that there are other situations out there, other types of people out there, and we're not going into those. We can delve into that as well if you want to, because if you die tomorrow, that's not the life you actually really want. So we can talk about that if you want to. Just leave that in the comments and we can do that. But I also, going back to the, rip the Band-Aid off. If you're doing that, you're speaking their language. Remember, it's easier when you're speaking their language. It's foreign to you, but it actually helps diffuse a lot of things. And it's going to lower their defenses, and it's going to show them that you respect their time and their communication style. And it's the fastest way to actually get a rough around the edges person to simmer down without causing any problems by saying the words calm down. And now internally, how can you manage your world? And how do you stay calm when the world is loud? Well, I will tell you one of the things that you can do, and it will take time and it will take practice, is the soft face. Relax your jaw. Soften your eyes. It is physically impossible for your brain to stay in panic mode when your facial muscles are relaxed. Didn't know that, did you? I didn't either until I did research. Also, your hands. Keep your palms open and visible. It's a position of strength, not weakness to the other person. It says, I'm grounded, I'm honest, and you can't shake me. And it doesn't come across like a threat to square up. It does not come across like I'm better than you. It is a subtle gesture that helps not only you, but them as well. I'm going to say this. You don't have to win every argument in life. In fact, if you're living like you might die tomorrow, you realize that winning an argument typically means losing part of a relationship. And if you die tomorrow, you already realized what relationships you don't want to lose. The real win is always staying centered when everyone else is melting down. When you use your knowledge of styles to speak their language, your knowledge of cues to protect your energy, you aren't just communicating, you are leading with love. And that, my beautiful humans, is one of the best ways to live. Now, next week, we're going to try and close out all of this, bring it all together. Because you know what? Doesn't a one-word text sometimes make your heart drop? We're closing out the series next week by moving from face to screen. When there's no voice or body language, your brain fills in the gap. And sometimes that's a bad thing. And we usually go worst case scenario right away. I'm going to show you why assuming the best case scenario is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Let's fix your digital anxiety. And next week on If I Die Tomorrow, that's what we're going to cover. So until then, and as always, be kind, be grateful, stay humble.